Welcome to Learn the Word, the daily Bible teaching program of Calvary Chapel of Delta and Pastor Doug McLean. As we pick up our study through Proverbs in chapter 10, we see Solomon laying out the way of wisdom. So let's join Pastor Doug as he teaches through it in Proverbs 10, verses 4 and 5.
There is a season for particular hard work. In an agricultural society, sleeping in the harvest would be shameful, selfish. If you're snoozing when it's time to bring in the harvest, it's foolish. So he's saying you have to recognize when it is the season to work and work. There are times when you need to work. You can't sleep in. You've got to work. Now look, right now, for us spiritually speaking, there's a harvest. There's a harvest. Jesus said in John 4:35, do not say there are still 4 months, then comes the harvest. Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look at the fields, for they are already white for harvest. Like spiritually, it's not time for us to be sleeping. It's time for us, for the church, to recognize the season we're in. That the Lord is coming soon, that now we're closer to his return than ever, which means our time to reach people for Jesus Christ is very limited. It's time to bring people into the kingdom of God. Just very practically, if we're looking at how we focus our life and what we do, right now it's harvest time. Now, very practically, let's go from the spiritual to the practical. We should not support laziness. We have to be careful in our love and desire to help people. We can unknowingly support a slack hand or a sluggard. 2 Thessalonians 3, verse 10, 2 Thessalonians 3:10, for even when we were with you, we commanded this, that if anyone will not work, he shall not eat. So if somebody comes among us and they have the ability to work and they choose not to, then we just have to assume they're making the choice to be hungry. And that isn't meant to be unloving at all. It's just reality. If somebody has the ability to work and they choose not to, then they're making a choice to be hungry. In fact, if we feed them when they're not working, we're supporting an unbiblical lifestyle. We're supporting laziness. So it's not a loving thing to do. If people can't work, that's a totally different story. Out of love, we should support people. We should help people. But if they choose not to, that's a different story. Now, in verses 6 to 14, as we move on, this section returns several times to the focus of our speech or the impact of our speech or our communication. In fact, 6 of the next 9 verses explicitly refer to communication, and there are 6 references to various parts of the body: head, mouth, heart, lips, eyes, back. It's a very interesting section. Speaking of the importance of our words, our communication. Look at verse 6. Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked. So when it says blessings are on the head, it's a reference to imparted blessings. When someone laid their hand on the head of someone and prayed for them, they were imparting their blessing to them. So blessings that are on the righteous, there are things that have been placed upon the righteous. There are blessings that come on the righteous. What kind of blessings? Well, if you're made right because of Christ's righteousness, you have a blessing of peace in your life and joy in your life and love in your life and a sound mind and lack of fear. There's many blessings that we have because we've been made right with Christ. And that's been put upon us, on our head. There are blessings that come into our lives. Now, in contrast to that truth, violence covers the mouth of the wicked. In other words, the wicked use injurious speech. They say things to hurt or attack or tear others down. Now, why are these two things brought together in this proverb? It's an interesting lesson. For the idea is that those who are wicked actually tear others down to make themselves feel better about themselves. See, the blessed don't have to. But the way people gossip and slander and malign others actually reveals an insecurity, an envy, a jealousness, because they don't have that blessing on their life. So there can tend to be this tearing others down to try to feel better about themselves because they're lacking that blessing on their lives. Look at verse 7, continues. The memory of the righteous is blessed, but the name of the wicked will rot. Those that live right have a good legacy. They have an enduring testimony. Those who are wicked, their name degrades more and more. It just rots, it decays, it decomposes. Verse 8, the wise in heart will receive commands, but a prating fool, here's language again, a prating fool will fall. So a wise in heart, those who have an internal disposition towards wisdom, will receive commands. A prating fool is someone that just talks and 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 talks. They're more interested in speaking than listening, in sharing rather than receiving. And that's foolish. They love to share their opinions, love to share their ideas, and you can tell they're not listening to you because they're using the time when you're speaking. You know, you've managed to get a word in. They pause and you start to speak so you can get a word in. And while you're speaking, they're formulating the next thing they say. So as soon as you breathe, they take over again and just continue the conversation. That's just foolish. They're hurting themselves. A prating fool will fall. Why? Because a person like that has a big issue with pride. They don't listen because they think a lot about themselves and think little of others. So, and pride comes before a fall. Look at verse 9. He who walks with integrity walks securely, but he who perverts his ways will become known. So walking with integrity. Integrity is an interesting word. It's without duplicity, to walk completely or wholly, or you could say sincerely. And that's a safe place. That's a secure place. If you have integrity, in other words, you're not living a dual life. It's just, this is what you get. This is who you are. It's just being sincerely, just this is it. This is what you get. There's not dualism in your life. And if you live like that, there's no need to fear being exposed. You don't have anything to hide. This is a wonderful place to be. There's confidence that comes with integrity. He who walks with integrity walks securely. There's confidence with it. And you know that everything that is hidden will one day be revealed. And those that are crooked, they're going to be exposed. And they're the ones that have every reason to be insecure. Insecure people sometimes are insecure because they have hidden things in their life. And one day, everything that's hidden is going to be exposed. Again, someone that's always tearing down other people, the root of that is often insecurity in their own life, and that insecurity often is because there's something hidden that hasn't been dealt with. If you can keep the attention on everybody else, you keep the attention off yourself. And that happens. I'm just telling you that so you know how to pray for people, you know how to understand what's going on. Look at verse 10. He who winks with the eye causes trouble, but a prating fool will fall. So the person that winks with the eye is the one that's saying that what I'm saying is not what I mean. You know. They're making gestures that say what you see and what I'm saying isn't all of it. There's more to it. There's more going on that's not being communicated. Verse 11, the mouth of the righteous is a well of life, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked. Someone who is right with God, the righteous, right with God, speaks words that impart life, that enhance life, that build up people. Their mouth is a well of life, like Ephesians 4:29. Ephesians 4:29, let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers. So somebody that's right with God is going to be a person that's going to speak to build other people up, encourage people, impart life to others. Look, words are really powerful. And they can be used to help others find satisfaction and peace. They can be used to help people understand what it means to truly live. But words can also damage. And once you speak words, you can't get them back. Jesus said in Luke 6:45, a good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So the mouth is the overflow of the heart. Continues, verse 12. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all sins. All those areas where somebody falls short, love covers. So love doesn't gossip or slander or share stories of other people's sins to expose them. Yes, correction and discipline are important at times, but it's very important that it's done in love. Love has to cover everything. So if you rebuke someone, it has to be in love. If you correct someone, it has to be in love. Love should cover everything we do, and particularly in what we do in response to sin. So rebuke should happen at times. The loving thing at times to do is to rebuke. Hatred doesn't think of what is best for others. Hatred thinks of what's best for yourself. So hatred doesn't consider how what you're saying impacts others. It creates strife, division, contention. So you get to this motive. Who am I doing this for? Am I doing it for them and for the Lord? Or am I doing it for myself? Am I doing it in love? Or am I doing it for a different motive? So it's so important to make sure that love is what's obvious. Because Jesus said they'll know we're his disciples because of we're right. Is that what he said? They'll know we're his disciples because we're right and they're wrong. No. They'll know we're his disciples because of our love one for another. So the testimony that should come from our fellowship together is the world from the outside should look and say, man, those people love each other. Verse 13. Wisdom is found on the lips of him who has understanding, but a rod is for the back of him who is devoid of understanding. Wise people store up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. So sometimes people need more than words to change. Sometimes love is more than words to change. Wise people listen to wise people who have understanding. Wise people take it all in. Wise people store up knowledge, but fools don't understand. And sometimes a fool needs the rod of correction through pain. That's the idea here. Sometimes it takes painful situations in life to be receptive to wisdom. Verse 15. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their poverty. So this is a simple observation of the way the world looks at wealth or the lack thereof. Rich men often trust in wealth, and they find their security in their possessions. So their wealth is their strong city. Poor people often see their poverty as their ruin or their destruction. I'm so poor, it's just, life is terrible. So Solomon just makes that observation. There are rich people that say, I'm trusting in this, my bank account, how much I have, that's my strong city. And there are poor people that say, because I don't have anything, then my life is just terrible. In other words, they evaluate their lives based on what they have, either their abundance or their lack when it comes to finances and resources. Now, I have to tell you, that's very short-sighted. It's worldly on both ends. And it's a misleading evaluation. Look at verse 16. The labor of the righteous leads to life, the wages of the wicked to sin. He who keeps instruction is in the way of life, but he who refuses correction goes astray. So here's reality. Righteousness and life are connected. Righteousness and life are connected. Wicked people sin. Following instruction leads to life. Refusing correction leads to straying from life. Look, Solomon is saying, look, life isn't about what you possess, whether if you have abundance or you have a lack. Life is about living right and not living in sin. Life isn't about what you have or don't have. Life is about living right. Sin leads to death. Sin kills. Sin robs. Sin rips off. Sin takes away. Sin enslaves. Sin destroys. Now, again, the only way I can be right is through faith in Jesus, who is the only righteous one. His righteousness is imputed upon me, and so I live eternally. But now, as I have that imputed righteousness, it behooves me to walk by faith and walk out that righteousness that has been given to me. I can choose to ignore that and do things my own way, and if I do that, I miss out. If I want to have a full and abundant life, then I should walk out the life I've been given. Romans 6:13, one of many verses that speak of this. Romans 6:13, and do not present your members as instruments of unrighteousness to sin, but present yourselves to God as being alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness to God. So we who have been made righteous by faith should do as 2 Timothy 2:22 says. We should pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace with those who call upon the Lord out of a pure heart. 2 Timothy 2:22. That's what life is about. Being right with God, living a right life by the power of the Holy Spirit. Verse 18, he continues. Whoever hides hatred has lying lips, and whoever speaks slander is a fool. In the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver. The heart of the wicked is worth little. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for lack of wisdom. So you may want to note, as you look at these verses, David prayed in Psalm 141, verse 3, Psalm 141, 3, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Lord, keep me quiet. Lord, shut my mouth. James 3, that whole first part of the chapter talks about our words. Let not many be teachers, for you shall receive a stricter judgment. Your tongue is like a rudder, little rudder that can move a big ship. A couple words can make a big move of things and people and change direction. He says your words are like a little fire that can burn down a whole forest. So you have to think about what you're saying, because the more you say, the more potential you have to sin. And yes, in contrast to that, you can speak valuable things, helpful things, enriching things, if you're right with God. And people need to hear right things. People are dying for lack of wisdom. So with our tongues, we have a potential for great good and great sin. But remember, your words flow from your heart. Your words flow from being right with God. The mouth is the overflow of the heart. So you get your heart right, then when you open your mouth, right things will come out. Verse 22. The blessings of the Lord make one rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. Now the riches of the world can make you miserable. It's true, just watch the news, look at all these wealthy people that are hooked on drugs, in and out of rehabs. It's just tragic to see what wealth does to people that don't know the Lord. Rich people can be very miserable, but God doesn't add to your life to make you miserable. When the Lord adds to your life, there's no sorrow with it. Verse 23, to do evil is like sport to a fool, but a man of understanding has wisdom. So for a fool, evil is enjoyment. It's funny. It's a game to the fool. If you understand where evil is leading, then it's not. It won't be. It's not funny. It's not a joke. Verse 24, the fear of the wicked will come upon him, and the desire of the righteous will be granted. Look, what the wicked fears most will come upon them. What's the biggest fear? The fear of death. Death will come. Hell will come. Loss will come. In contrast, the godly have Or the righteous have godly desires, and they see those godly desires fulfilled. David wrote in Psalm 37, verse 4, Psalm 37, 4, delight yourself also in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So as you're delighting in the Lord, he actually gives you desires in your heart. He gives you those desires, and then he satisfies those desires that he gives you. It is he who works in you both to will and to do. So he gives you the desire, then he fulfills it. So if you delight in him, if you're right with him, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and everything else will be added to you. Verse 25. When the whirlwind passes by, the wicked is no more, but the righteous has an everlasting foundation. So storms come, and as the storms blow through, the righteous stand. This is the Old Testament version of Matthew 7, 24 to 27. Matthew 7, 24 to 27, where Jesus said, therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and great was its fall. And so the storms come to everyone, and they reveal the quality of the foundation. That's what Jesus taught. That's what Solomon is saying here. The storms reveal the quality of the foundation. Verse 26, as vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is the lazy man to those who send him. What's he saying? If you send a lazy man, it's not good. It can be bitter, it can be irritating. So don't send the lazy man. You send the lazy man and it doesn't get done, and you're thinking, I shouldn't have sent him. Should have picked somebody that would have done it. Verse 27, the fear of the Lord prolongs his days, but the years of the wicked will be shortened. The hope of the righteous will be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked will perish. The way of the Lord is strength for the upright, but destruction will come to the workers of iniquity. The righteous will never be removed, but the wicked will not inhabit the earth. Look, all of these verses are about the end of life. The sense that wickedness can shorten your life. And we know that to be true. If you involve yourself in drugs, abuse of alcohol, crime, violence, sexual promiscuity, these are things that can actually shorten your life. Wickedness can shorten your life. The wicked then are going to be disappointed. It says the expectation of the wicked will perish. And then, of course, destruction is coming. They don't have a future. So this is all about the end of things. And that's what wisdom does, is wisdom considers the end of things. And those that are right with God, who fear God, there's an eternity to look forward to. There's gladness ultimately. There's strength along the way. There's a permanence. There's an endurance. There's eternal life. So again, this whole thing, you choose. You make the choice. Verse 31. The mouth of the righteous brings forth wisdom, but the perverse tongue will be cut out. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked, what is perverse. And again, we end with more about speech. And again, what comes out of your mouth reveals what's in your heart. So, if you struggle with your speech, I think sometimes people can minimize our speech. And it's not just the words, but it's the tone that we communicate to people. It's what we're saying, the way we're saying things. And, if you struggle in that area, don't ignore it, but just acknowledge it and say, Lord, I sounded harsh. I didn't want to sound harsh. Forgive me, Lord. Give me your heart. I want to speak with your heart. Don't ignore it. Because we don't have time to waste our words. Our words can impact the world. And people need to hear the truth in love. Romans 10:14. Romans 10:14. And I'll close with this. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And that's just not me, that's you too, a proclaimer.
You've been listening to Learn the Word Radio, a ministry of Calvary Chapel of Delta. We're so blessed you joined us today to learn God's Word with Pastor Doug. If you'd like to listen to more Bible teaching like this, or find out more about this ministry, be sure to visit us online at calvarydelta.com. That's calvarydelta.com. Now that's it for today, but we hope to see you next time, right here on Learn the Word.